Evening, boys. It's Dr. Infinity, and I just want to say, we did it! We did it! Look at that! 100 videos, 100 subscribers. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah! Probably half of these videos are unwatchable, but we got there. We finally got there. I knew we were going to get there eventually, boys, but we did it. 100 videos, 100 subscribers, 3 cheers all around. Good work, everybody. We got them. I just want to say thanks. This is a long journey. I'm probably going to have a video on the 1 year anniversary of this channel, which should be in like January. That's when I published the first video, and I'm kind of talk about the channel and what I'm going to do with it in the future. I'm still going to keep it going, but I'm going to talk about it a little more. Hip hip hooray.
Well, come on, men. 3 cheers for her grace. Hip hip
hooray. Hooray. Hip hip hooray. Hip hip hooray.
This video is going to be on March or Die, which was a recommendation. I appreciate the recommendation. And March or Die is a 1977 movie. It's about the French Foreign Legion after World War I going to defend this archaeological dig site in North Africa from the native tribes, and there's some conflict. There's going to be full spoilers going into the movie. I thought the movie was alright, which is why I'm giving it a half a white pill title, not a full white pill. I still think it's worth seeing. There's definitely good parts in there and stuff that I did enjoy, but there were a few kind of things here and there that kind of put me a bit off from the movie. I'd say the movie can tend to drag at times, and we're kind of waiting for tension to be there, if that makes sense. We don't really see tension until the last act of the movie, kind of this big battle scene where we're defending the dig site, and until then, we haven't had too much tension. It's slowly building, but it just takes quite a while to get there. Our main character, well, I guess it could technically be considered 2 main characters. It kind of goes back and forth between the two. Our character that we open up with is a Major Foster. He is Gene Hackman. He's played by Gene Hackman, and he is the commander of or at least this unit of the French Foreign Legion, okay? And he's an American, and he went abroad. Now he's being reassigned right after the war. And I liked his character, for the most part, where we see him being very kind and considerate to these wounded soldiers, right at the onset of the movie, when they're unloading the wounded men, and he's helping this blind guy who stumbles get back into line, and so we have this idea of this really passionate, good commander. We also have the men that they're drinking, and they decide to cheer him, and he's kind of disgusted by it to an extent. It's not what he wants, he keeps looking over at the wounded men, and we even have this guy that's I guess lost some of his face, and he can't really see, and one of his hands is injured. But they're all cheering and toasting him, but this isn't something he wants to cheer or toast. So I like his character to begin with, and I like that he really doesn't give a shit about some archaeological dig site where a lot of his men are going to be killed, and he doesn't want to be reassigned there, but, orders are orders, so what else is he going to do? He just seems to kind of get prostitutes, not really just for the sex, but he's just kind of venting about his life. He does this a few times with women that he picks up, and so far, I'm into the movie. I like it. I like Max von Sydow. He's been in a lot of stuff I've enjoyed. But probably Conan as the usurper king. I remember him in that, the original Conan. Max von Sydow's just a archaeologist, and he's going to be running the dig site. So, From there, we have our recruitment of the French Foreign Legion. So we have a few guys that's kind of serve as our main crew, right? We have Marco, who's a gypsy. I guess that means Romanian. Yeah, that's what gypsy means. And he's a pickpocket, but he's also like really charismatic, and he just looks out for all the men around in his unit. We got the big Russian guy. We got the young schoolboy, he was supposed to be in university, but he's gone out like seeking adventure because he didn't get to fight in the war. And we have the pianist guy who's like the most out of place of them, but like he's a good character. He has good scenes later on. For like a standard like war film, it starts out like pretty solid. I will say like overall in the movie, I don't know if I would call like the editing like foreign or like weird. But there is something there where like some of the editing, like some of the scenes feel like, I don't know if this sounds really dumb, but like not in a like American style, if that makes sense. It feels like kind of a European like editing. I don't know if that sounds crazy or not, but that's just how it felt to me, like a little all over the place. We have some good montages. I like the pianist guy who he gets his hat fucked up by like one of the officers, and we see underneath his bed he's kept like his little pianist like performing suit, because it's important to him. I like that. He's a good guy. And just throughout the training, like Marco's trying to cover and like help for everyone. He's trying to he helps the kid during target practice, he helps the pianist on the march, and even going back for him. This is that kind of part where the pianist like falls down and they're just say, hey, leave him to die. That really took me out of the movie, where it's just like not something I can really believe that like a military organization, right? They've spent a lot of money feeding, training, equipping men, and it's like that represents a lot of money. And then you have a guy that falls down and you're just telling them to, hey, just leave him, let him die,
Leave that man alone. In the Legion, you march or die.
And even like Gene Hackman, who's kind of like thrown me off like in the movie here, where it's just, okay, but like you also helped a guy who was falling down in line earlier, like during the opening scene, right? So Gene Hackman's done that, but when it's like these guys, he doesn't really like care, and there's this really like one, just from a financial standpoint, it doesn't make sense. I think it would make sense if they brought the pianist back and then they said, hey, because you fell down, you're not what we want for the Legion, go home, that would be one thing. But just like being okay with like leaving two men to die when they're severely undermanned already compared to like the natives, because Bilbo Baggins plays like this Arab that's leading like the North Africans against the French, right? That's what Bilbo Baggins is doing. So it's like it's all right, but like Gene Hackman's a little like off. Even like back at the camp, like like he orders like the gate to be closed and not to let the two of them in and just leave them out there for the day. And it's like, dude, they proved that they were able to like march back to camp. That means something, right? That means some form of dedication.
Legionnaire, keep that gate closed. If they're there when we go back in the morning, it's fine. If not, that's fine too.
And instead, it's just punishment for Marco, which is like pretty fucked up. They got him in this like, he's like in a sitting position where you cannot sit. Does that make sense? And this woman, Picard, she was the daughter of one of the archaeologists. She's come along on the journey, and she and Marco kind of have a thing. Literally, like, everyone is into her because she's, like, one of the few white women in North Africa, so everyone's trying to get with her. And she's a beautiful woman, She's there for Marco, but she's, like, trying to save him, but Marco doesn't, like, want to be saved or taken out of the Legion. We have all that going on. And then finally, we're setting out to go to the dig site. But the pianist, like, he goes from, like, a high to a low so quickly, where he's playing music for everyone and everyone's having a great time, and he's, like, back into his element, back to, like, who he really is, and then he can't like perform with like a prostitute, and then we have this good scene of like everyone's laughing at him except for Marco, who takes this kind of comforting like brother or father figure role with him, and he's trying to just take care of him. But the next morning, that guy does commit suicide, and he's discovered by like the student, and it's pretty fucked up. For a guy who doesn't have like a ton of like lines or anything, like he's an impactful character. He left an impression. I do like that they've laid him out, in like his uniform, his version of like his uniform, like who he is, who he was like meant to be on the bed. And then we have more confrontation with the Arabs, and they're just like a really fucking savage people. Like, I don't know. They're not really like, I don't really give a shit about them because like how fucking brutal they are. Does that make sense? They've captured and tortured like the student, like the youngest one in the group, and it's fucked up. And like he and like Gene Hackman and Bilbo are like going back and forth, and then Gene Hackman like throws some logic at him. And then Bilbo just starts going, Allah, and they all go fucking crazy, and they do like the weird tongue thing. It's like, God damn, fuck these sand people, man. Holy shit. I really like Marco shooting that fucking guy. That was good. And then we're just kind of like waiting where Gene Hackman's like trying to buy off them by giving them, because they're digging up like this tomb of this like North African like important like historical figure, right? And he's trying to like save the lives of his men by giving this like coffin to them, to save the lives of his men. And I'm like, that makes sense. That works. But it is still in conflict with one, leaving his men outside the gate, because they showed up late and fell behind in the march. And then also just the overall policy of just, march or die, which I don't like fully agree with. I don't think that fully makes sense. And it's like, because Gene Hackman lost like a bunch of people in trench warfare in World War I. So you think he'd be like more compassionate towards his men, and he is at certain parts, with having the pianist like buried, in his uniform and everything, and etc. It doesn't feel exactly right to like punish Marco like that. I guess he did disobey an order, but it's somewhat conflicting, and then you kind of bring up where it's just like, do you really trust like this Arab dude to like uphold his word? And of course the Arab guy does not uphold his word, and he's just like a bloody savage. Oh, the big Russian guy. Yeah, I liked him quite a bit because he talks to Marco a little bit. This is like maybe the most words he says in the entire movie, but he talks to Marco a little bit. He brings up like being a Russian like guard for the royal family and just like that, and that's really good. I did enjoy this book, Always with Honor, which is by Wrangel, who was a general in the White Russian Army, but that was just like good, interesting like history. So I appreciate that.
I was special guard for the royal family. I am away. They take them. They walk Russia. I cannot find them. July this year, they killed them. All of them. All.
I will say, like, the final battle, if you just want to see, like, Europeans, like, gun down, like, North African Muslims, it's a good movie for that. It really is. It's a fine movie for that. That's kind of it. Hackman gets killed, and everything kind of wraps up there with Marco taking on more of a leadership position within the Legion. And unfortunately, like Picard, she's leaving, because Marco, he's not going to abandon the Legion, even though that's what she wants. And he could go with her, but he just can't really do it. You know what I mean? It's like, overall, I think it's decent. I think some of the editing's like somewhat weird, somewhat like foreign, I would say. Gene Hackman he bounces a little too much for me in terms of characterization. Like, I think it's probably worth seeing at least once, and there were parts I genuinely did enjoy. There was stuff I really did like in the movie, so that's why it's half a white pill. That's going to be it from me. I do have a video about some documentaries about like drug abuse and like rural poverty. All those documentaries are free. 2 of them are on YouTube. One of them's on like Tubi TV. And, you can check out those documentaries if you want, then check out that video. I got, other reviews on the channel. It's usually, TVs and movies. I'm going to be trimming some of the videos on my channel, just some of the stuff, earlier stuff that I'm not really proud of, and I think is kind of, low effort and shitty. So I'm going to start trimming some of those. Anyways, thanks for watching. 100 subs, man. 100 subs. And Dr. Infinity out.